I've done hundreds upon hundreds of stories about the changes in British culture. That could be theatre, it could be film, it could be all sorts. We know that technology is transforming what individuals can do and creating a whole new art form. If that isn't one of the most important cultural stories that you can report on, I don't know what is.
I've been involved in making fan films for almost 15 years, and I thought it was about time to think, well, why have I been involved with it? And why are other people involved with it? And why are people watching it? What's it all about? And why is the media so interested? I thought the best way to find out was to come here to Tilmanstone, where we made our first film, Geriatric Park. In fact, this road is where our journey to Geriatric Park began, and our journey into fan films began.
Right, lovies, here we go.
Well, a fan film is obviously it's a film made by fans, so it's a film that is it's nurtured within a context of enthusiasm for a particular text or an intellectual property, or some kind of cultural object.
It could be anything. Though. It doesn't have to be a copy. It doesn't have to be original, and it can be short or long, just a sketch or anything.
And it's outside of the industry, so it doesn't have the kind of wherewithal, the means of production. It doesn't have the budget and so on.
I got hooked instantaneously. I spent far more money than I should have, and went out and bought tripods and mini Steadicam systems and lighting and reflectors and camera, and it just suddenly snowballed, and I'd spent like $4,000 on equipment.
So it's a film that's made out of love for a particular cultural object or a text, and that's its main context, I think. And it's something to be shared amongst other fans as well. Well, I think what's interesting about fandom is that once upon a time, I think being a fan was something that was frowned upon. It was seen as something that actually was quite, you were quite disturbed or unhealthy. There was something pathological about being a fan.
Yeah, some people who make fan films are geeks. Some fan films are very niche, very very narrow-minded.
And I think that that's changing quite dramatically, and it certainly is something to do with the digital revolution, the convergence of different media forms, and in particular the internet.
Say goodnight, Big Blue.
I've been working and playing in film since I was 16, and graduated from media production at Lincoln University in 2001. And since then I've been working on my own projects, including a fan film, as well as some community-based things, and I've also done some work for the BBC down in Bristol. My
angle from coming in and making fan films is for the enjoyment of working together as a team. I'm a creative person. I'm a designer, by trade. So I like making things, creating things. And a film is a massive creation.
Well, I guess it's just things saying, well, yeah, it's my chance to contribute my own small part to the incredible Star Wars universe that George Lucas came up with. So a lot of people consider it to be the ultimate homage, I guess. Our film's called Star Wars Rise of Trialfia. We've been able to utilise another service on the internet over there called filmnet.org, where there's a lot of people that have done acting courses at university and want to get into it as a career. Yeah, about 50% of the cast we have so far have been through there. The other people involved are already friends of mine that are also Star Wars fans themselves.
Well, I am a Star Wars fan, which means a Star Wars nerd. One year we decided that we would have a go at making our own Star Wars film. We got together, cobbled together some costumes in some woods and filmed a lightsaber fight, and we had fun.
Oh, crap.
With my film, it was basically a team of 3 of us, and we were working weekends whenever we had a free moment. We didn't have a budget at all, really. We just occasionally bought stuff to make the film with.
Well, this is where my filmmaking journey began, here in my backyard, which is where the name of our company came from, Backyard Productions. Someone else lives here now, but they're kindly letting me look around. Of course, this is where Mark and I did our notorious fight scene. I threw him into the shed over there. And then ran him over on the main road. And down here was where our Aliens' sketch was done. Our first experiment with blood, guts and gore.
No pudding then.
What's really special is the garage here was used in our first scene for Geriatric Park. In fact, I managed to get some stills from the making of that film. And you can just see back then in 1993 where we were making our very first scene.
Jerry, all right. The only time we're going to see you or the person in there is with a close-up.
People can immediately relate to a, in inverted commas, fan film because they've seen the film, whether it be Raiders of the Lost Ark or Star Wars or Jurassic Park, and they can immediately relate to it, so it's immediately funny.
Sweetheart, listen to me, sweetheart. Nobody wants your baby. It'll probably be as spotty as you anyway. Yeah? Well, we'll see, won't we? Sweetheart!
Everybody likes something good going on. Everybody likes the "and finally" bit at the end of News at 10, for example.
If there's a film you really love, you might watch it regularly, maybe even have a favourite scene or a line of dialogue, perhaps.
But what if that's not enough? What if you love it so much that you want to be part of it? Well, clearly you film your own version and release it on the internet.
It was back in 2005 and I was at home on a Sunday flicking through the Sunday papers, and there was a feature in there about Backyard Productions that caught my eye. The attention to detail looked superb, and there was just a great story to tell there with the whole family setup of Backyard Productions. So it was definitely one to follow up back in the office on Monday.
So swap big budget for no budget and you've got this, a homemade remake of The Empire Strikes Back. And it's not just Star Wars that's been spoofed. The brothers have also done their own version of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Thousands around the world are also doing the same, thanks to one thing: cheap technology.
And there are home videos and home videos. We'll show you the incredible tribute movies being made by 2 young amateurs. Full 90-minute spoofs of Star Wars and Indiana Jones films with special effects and everything else.
The great thing about Richard and Judy is that even though they are parents and a middle-aged couple, they're open to new ideas. It's very different with Richard and Judy. They control exactly what goes on in that show, and they know what they like, and they definitely know what they don't like. But sit down. I'm not really going to say much, just watch this. I think it was the action scene of the Indiana Jones character on the lorry, as I seem to remember. And then I played them, I think again, that lightsaber fight from The Empire Strikes Back yard. Now, when they saw that, they had the same initial reactions what I did. What's fan films? What's that all about? There's a good interview, there's a good subject for us to get our teeth into there.
20 years ago, brothers Darren and Mark Scales left the cinema so excited by films like Ghostbusters and the Indiana Jones movies that they decided to copy them using a camcorder that their mum hired for the week because the family couldn't afford to buy one then. The initial results were awful, but they stuck at it, and now they're coming up with really incredible stuff.
The item was meant to be about 5 or 6 minutes, I think, but it was going so well, and the boys obviously got on very well with Richard and Judy, who were obviously interested in what the boys had to say. The item got extended to 7-8 minutes. And obviously in a live TV show on Channel 4, which has only got 40 minutes to play with, that's a fairly rare thing, which is usually reserved for celebrity guests.
Well, are you the older brother?
I am, thank you. Yeah, I'm affectionately referred to as the executive bully within Backyard Productions, because I tend to do a lot of shouting and stuff to make sure things get done.
Is it just a hobby, or would you secretly really like to go out and make epic movies?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Never make your hobby your work, I think. We get the choice to make what we want to do and have fun doing it, and Backyard Production is about making filmmaking fun, and we really enjoy what we're doing, and then we want to stick to doing that.
I think that's the big difference between, say, fan films in the industry, is that fan films, you can do what exactly you want, and no one is going to pull you up on that. You know, you are a law unto yourself to a certain degree if no one sues you.
George Lucas has said it's okay. On the various rules of, you know, no profit, not even cover production costs, use the music, you got to say, you know, credit to John Williams in the film and all that kind of stuff.
There are different responses from figures within from the industry, and I think some of them are running scared and they're trying to close down this kind of activity, so there's actions against fan sites and so on.
I mean, other major films, people have wanted to make them like the Harry Potter ones and everything, and Warner Brothers have said no. So there's the difference there. It's all a matter of whether you're allowed to or not.
Others are recognising that this is not going to go away, and that in actual fact they may be able to exploit this as a kind of a pool, as a kind of a farm that they can encourage, and actually now and again they can pluck some of the best talents from it and take them into the fold, and I think that's already happening in some cases.
Mainstream media has become more accepting of smaller productions as well. You know, independent films are becoming more popular.
Whatever the response is at the moment, they need to get wise to the fact that it's not going to go away.
Well, listen, congratulations. What's your next project?
We're working on another Star Wars film.
All right.
So, obviously with Episode 3.
How I got to hear about Backyard Productions was through my mother-in-law, and she said there's this company that's just been on Richard and Judy that are making a Star Wars film. They'd made one in the past, and there was talk of making another one.
They were going back to Star Wars. Now, as a big Star Wars fan, that was a big plus for me. I really was looking forward to that. But also a bit of, you know, I was interested in films myself and filmmaking, and then suddenly there was this opportunity to not only know that they were working on Tenclo, but the ability to go and have a look and see what they were working on and how they were putting it together.
Coming onto the set for the first time, as it was being built, I didn't know what to expect, because though I'd seen their stuff before, I didn't, you know exactly how big they were going to do it this time.
We'll let them have a look round the set, see what you think. Had a look round the set, a few bars of scaffolding round, and you know, bits of plywood here and there. But Daz was explaining to me, and all his enthusiasm, what's going where and what's going to be. You know, this is going to be the Death Star. This is going to be this set.
We'd gone upstairs. He took us through where they were setting all the costumes up, and already you could see, wow, okay, they've actually got a wardrobe set. You know, as most fan films, it's in a bag, and they're like, here you go.
Got into this large room that was filled with scaffolding and a great big platform and a huge window where a green screen was going to be. It was impressive, the amount of people who were there working. It was not something I'd ever, you know, imagined would happen.
Unfortunately, we have to earn a living as well, which interferes a hell of a lot. We're 200 miles apart, and from where a lot of the filming base sort of, you know, comes in, and sometimes it gets really frustrating that I can't come up and do a lot more work than I want to, you know.
I say, it's such a great atmosphere. It was, people were clearly working hard. It wasn't, you know, people weren't sitting around going, oh, I can't be bothered to do this today, because there was so much to do, but it was, people were enjoying the fact that they were working on it.
I'm teaching him.
Get on your work. Go and do some work.
We were extras, and we played clone troopers, and we all had to burst through this doorway, and it was actually quite magic on being on set, because if you stand in the middle, you look sort of one way, you see set, you look the other way, you see set, and just for a moment you could believe you were actually aboard a spaceship.
In you come fire and die, sit, that's good, and 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah, working on The Emperor's New Clones was very different to my own fan film. Rather than sort of spend 20 minutes in front of the camera laughing and just making stuff up, there was a need to stick to what was needed so that you could get on to the next shot. And there's one scene where there were pyrotechnics involved, and so if that went wrong, it would be difficult to stage it too many times again, so you've got to get it right. When you've got so many involved, there's so many more chances of things to go wrong.
Hang on! 1, 2, 3, punch it!
During the production of the film, my dad said and asked me if I could come back just to do some voiceovers. And then I'd come up to Dad's and I'd walk through the room and I'd see like lots and lots of monitors around, and there'd be lads sat at every monitor, and just the amount of work that they had to do, you know, to just get this film fit. My little part was just a tiny little part of it. And you know, they'd have like 15 monitors. Them lads at Baywatch Productions, they even had cardboard boxes with wires coming out of them that were actually computers inside the cardboard boxes.
How's that for external storage?
Post-production was fairly intense. With this, it was very immediately pressure and schedule to stick to. Then it really got industrial. You know, way beyond the amount of work I'd ever done for my own film. Darren would give me a sort of a diagram of a shot with, you know, some lines going here, and you know, I'd do a shot and I think that looks pretty good, and then Darren would come along and say, no, redo it. And I learned a tremendous amount in special effects, in being pushed that hard.
Now, George Lucas told us that Revenge of the Sith would be the last Star Wars film, but it seems fans of the movies have other ideas and are making their own sequels.
Indeed, the latest is The Emperor's New Clones.
The Emperor's New Clones.
The Emperor's New Clones is also...
Scores of keen moviegoers converged in our region as it hosted the world premiere of the latest Star Wars film.
Not quite Hollywood, but then this isn't quite Star Wars. Nevertheless, filmmakers, stars and fans all eagerly gathered to see this latest sci-fi epic get its big screen debut.
When it came to the premiere of the film, to me it was a big Hollywood premiere, you know, and we all got dressed up, we all had these nice clothes, and I had a tuxedo on, the lad had a tuxedo on.
To the cast and crew here, this is your film. You all gave 110%. Ladies and gentlemen, the world charity premiere of Star Wars Episode 3, The Emperor's New Clones.
The good part that I'll always take away from my experience is the film's fantastic, the film's brilliant, being all part of it is good. But, you know, that summer, me and my son spent most of the summer together, and that is something that I valued a lot, being with my son, just me and him together, going off on this like crazy scheme, as it were, you know, to going off and doing this film. It was just the whole experience. It was a good time for me and my lad. We bonded a lot during that period.
Freeze, dirtbag.
Dying was fun, because the clone troopers, when they come across Jedis, they tend to die very rapidly. Thankfully, that was added in post-production, and I sustained no real injury.
Not only have they made a film, they've made it for £3,000, which, you know, but the film is not, you know, their little sister or their little brother in a wig running around the park with a plastic sword. It's a film with proper production values, with a proper script, with proper jokes, with proper special effects, with proper editing. For £3,000, which is what they spent on their film, all I've got was probably that table, which cost the same amount of money.
A rebel blockade runner chased by an Imperial Star Destroyer.
We knew the technology was changing, we knew people were buying it. How are they using it? I trawled around, I talked to people, I looked on the internet, and suddenly I see something that looks like 1977, and I'm 11 years old again, watching Star Wars for the first time, and it's being produced in a garage.
Meet Darth Small, or as he's known to friends and family, Luke Scales and his dad Darren. And they make, or rather remake, movies at home.
What I wanted was a professional looking product produced by people who were using technology you could buy over the counter. It was perfect. Made in a garage for under £3,000 by people who are just doing it for the sheer love of what they're doing.
So, 30 years on from Star Wars, a passable recreation of a Hollywood blockbuster for less than £3,000.
I think fan filmmaking has changed for several reasons. I think the technology has made it easier for people to make fan films, and the availability, you know, it's a lot cheaper to buy a camera and a computer to edit and whatever.
Due to the kind of digital media and the internet, they're able to produce their own artifacts and to embellish those that they already enjoy.
Media has changed. We have websites like YouTube where, you know, which is encouraging people to make their own short films or whatever. So again, that's sort of been a massive boost. So you can say there are thousands and thousands of fan films, you know, even if it's just two people jumping about in their back garden, whatever. That's how we started.
I think the internet is brewing a whole kind of ambience and context in which people are being encouraged to share their passions and their enthusiasms, their interests.
Because more people are making things themselves, then they have more interest in what other people are doing for themselves. Another great thing about making fan films, for example, is that it's brought us here to visit, you know, quite a special location, special to a lot of people. You know, we've driven for many hours, we've had, you know, a grueling trip to get here, but again, it's quite satisfying, and it's something that's spun off from making fan films. So it's, you know, another fringe benefit. The whole family's come along, we're having a great holiday, as well as, you know, visiting locations. I mean, this is an amazing set. We've built some pretty amazing sets, I think. But to us, because we've seen the whole construction, I suppose, then they're not as real as this feels here. But then, you know, it is made out of chicken wire and plaster, and you can see, having built sets, you can see how they might have put it together. And our own films are more special to us than they are to anybody else because we were there. But now we've been here, then maybe the real Star Wars films will be more special. I'm not a particularly big Star Wars geek or anything, but having seen the films a number of times and enjoyed them a great deal, just coming up to this location was really something, you know, amazing. A sort of funny, very peculiar feeling, because, you know, it was almost like approaching, you know, I don't know, a foreign planet. Well, I've got a tingle now. I know that we've made a number of fan films now, and we're now moving on beyond that to making, you know, original things.
I've started work on my own film, and it's a medieval film based on a 14th century manuscript that was made in Lincolnshire. And I'm much better equipped to do this film now, actually having been involved with Backyard Productions. Seeing how that works has definitely informed how I'm working on this film.
Look, Alf, I'm putting my neck out for you. How many flaming times do I have to flaming say it? I'm flaming, not flaming interested.
So when we weren't making the films themselves, this is where all the preparation took place. And this is the great thing about fan film making, is that everything starts at home. We're using your backyard as a set. You've got your pre-production in your kitchen. And I think that's what makes fan filmmaking so interesting to the media, and why people love to get involved.
Because we've learned so much, we have the ability to be, you know, semi-professional filmmakers, which is,
rolling.
You know, is quite an achievement.
Wait. Cut.
And if that's all come from fan films, then fan films must be quite a good thing.
Well, I see fan filmmaking as pretty much entirely positive. And I think that it's opening up space and opportunities within mass media that I'd like to see widening and developing. Yeah.
People like a bit of light-hearted fun, and what we're doing, I think, touches a few people. They can see that we're having a gig, we're doing it. Maybe that's what it is. You know, there's so much not fun going on in the world. Maybe we can bring a little bit of enlightenment to people.
I haven't seen The Emperor's New Clothes.
A group of amateurs had actually put the time and effort to make such a polished, finished product, and it showed on the programme. It went down an absolute storm in the show, and that started my relationship off with Backyard Productions, who I think are absolutely one of the most interesting companies in this country.
And you want washing up bottles, you're wanting loo rolls, you're wanting yoghurt pots. And blow me down, we're getting an imperial starship created out of yoghurt pots, loo rolls, and the centres of carpets.
But in the end of the day, we're all aiming towards one goal, and you know, I like that.
So there we are. Fan films are made because we have the technology to make them. And there's an interest to show and share each other's work and pay homage to our great heroes and villains. And some of us are now even using our abilities learnt through fan filmmaking in the real world.
But for me, it's been about having a whole load of fun.
Go, Phil.
David Sillitoe, BBC News, reporting from Backyard Productions.